It's late at night. The house is quiet. Everyone's asleep except you. You're staring at the ceiling, heart beating a little faster than it should. Not because of today, not because of tomorrow, but because of years from now. A thought you usually avoid suddenly gets loud. What if what I'm doing isn't enough? What if I reach the end and the money runs out? You've done everything right. You went to work. You showed up on time. You stayed loyal. You trusted the system. They told you, don't worry, your pension will take care of you. And you believed it. Why wouldn't you? Silence. That belief feels comforting during the day, but at night, when no one is watching, it feels fragile. Shorter before we dive into the topic, don't forget to like the video, subscribe channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now listen carefully. This topic isn't ignored because it's boring. It's ignored because it's terrifying. Because once you really look at it, you can't unsee it. Most people don't want to think about retirement. They don't want to run the numbers. They don't want to imagine a future where the promise doesn't hold. So they push it away. They tell themselves, I still have time. They say, that's a problem for later. They hope everything will somehow work out. Hope feels easier than responsibility. From a young age, we're trained to follow a path, go to school, get a job, work hard, retire peacefully. No one teaches you to question if the path still works. No one sits you down and says, hey, what happens if costs rise faster than your pension? What happens if the rules change? What happens if you live longer than expected? Those questions stay unanswered. And unanswered questions create silent risk. You see it happen around you. Prices go up, benefits get adjusted, retirees whisper instead of celebrate, but most people look away. Because facing this means admitting something painful. No one is truly responsible for your future except you. Employers don't talk about the weaknesses. Governments don't advertise uncertainty. And the system doesn't warn you before it fails you. Time keeps moving, unforgiving. Every year you delay this conversation, your options shrink. Every year you ignore it, the pressure builds quietly. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because the real danger isn't bad luck, it's blind trust. And the truth is, ignoring this topic doesn't protect you. It just delays the moment when reality knocks hard. This moment right now, this pause, this is your chance to listen before it's forced on you. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, there's one mistake that silently ruins people. Not overnight, not loudly, slowly. And most don't even realize they're making it. They believe their pension is the plan, not part of the plan. As the plan is, they think, as long as I keep working, I'll be fine. They think that money will be there when I need it. And that belief feels safe until it doesn't. Pause. A pension sounds solid because it's familiar, because it feels official, because it comes from authority. But here's the truth no one says out loud. A pension was never built to replace your life. It was built to replace a piece of your paycheck. A piece, and that piece keeps shrinking. Costs don't stop rising when you retire. Food doesn't get cheaper. Rent doesn't pause. Medical bills don't care how hard you work. But people still say, I'll manage, I'll adjust. I don't need much. That's not confidence. That's denial, silence. The real mistake isn't trusting a pension. The mistake is depending on it completely. Depending on something you don't control, something that can change rules, something affected by inflation, politics, markets, and time. Time is the most dangerous part because time convinces you there's no rush. Years go by fast when nothing seems wrong. Paychecks come in. Life moves forward. So the urgency disappears. Until one day the math doesn't work. Until retirement gets closer and the numbers look smaller than expected. That's when panic shows up. People realize too late that they built their future on a single pillar, and one pillar is never enough. They start asking questions they should have asked years ago. They feel regret. They feel trapped. And the worst part, they blame themselves quietly for trusting, for not learning sooner, for assuming someone else had their back. But this mistake is common, very common, because no one warns you early enough. No one explains that pensions don't grow with your lifestyle. They don't protect you from long lives. They don't give you flexibility. They give you predictability. And predictability isn't safety when the world keeps changing. Relying on one source of future income is like walking a tightrope with no net. It works until it doesn't. And when it fails, there's no rewind button. This isn't about fear, it's about realism. Because the moment you realize a pension is a supplement, not a solution, everything changes. You stop assuming, you start preparing, and that shift, that awareness, can be the difference between peace and panic later. This mistake doesn't ruin people because they're careless. It ruins them because they trusted too deeply and questioned too late. At some point, something has to break inside you, not your job, not the system as you're thinking. Because as long as you keep asking, how much will my pension give me, you're already losing. That question sounds responsible, but it's built on weakness. It assumes someone else decides your future. Pause. The real shift happens when a different question hits you hard. What happens if this isn't enough? What happens if I live longer than planned? What happens if I can't work anymore? Most people never ask those questions. They're too uncomfortable. Because once you ask them, you can't hide anymore. You realize something painful. Your employer is not your safety net. The system is not designed for your comfort. And retirement is not guaranteed. That realization hurts. It feels unfair. It feels heavy. But it's also the moment power comes back to you. See, most people think like workers only. They trade time for money. They wait for raises and wait for permission. and waiting feels normal until it traps you. The mindset shift is this: you stop thinking only about income today and start thinking about income without you. Money that shows up whether you're tired or not, money that doesn't depend on your mood, your health, or your boss. That idea scares people because it sounds complicated, because it sounds risky, because it forces responsibility. But here's the truth no one says clearly: depending on one paycheck is already risky. Depending on one pension is even riskier. Silence. The wealthy don't wait for retirement to feel safe. They build safety over time. They don't ask, when can I stop working? They ask, how do I stop needing to work? That difference is everything. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It starts quietly. You begin to notice where your money goes. You stop upgrading your lifestyle automatically. You start thinking long-term instead of month to month, and slowly fear turns into focus. You stop hoping nothing goes wrong. You start planning for reality. That's when control shows up. Control over choices, control over time, control over your future. And with control comes something most people never feel around money. Calm, not excitement, not hype, calm. Because you know you're no longer relying on a single promise made decades ago. This mindset shift isn't about becoming rich. It's about refusing to be fragile. Because the truth is simple and brutal. The world changes fast, and only those who take responsibility early get to breathe easy later. This is the moment where excuses end, and ownership begins. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, let's get uncomfortable for a moment, because this is where most people look away. Not because it's hard, but because it's ass honest. Everything starts with numbers, and numbers don't care how hard you work. They don't care about intentions. They only tell the truth. Most people have no idea where their money actually goes. They feel broke, but can't explain why. They work more, but save less. They earn more, but feel stuck. That's not bad luck. That's lack of clarity. Pause. If you don't know how much comes in every month and exactly how much goes out, you're not in control, you're guessing. And guessing is expensive. This isn't about spreadsheets or perfection, it's about awareness. When you finally look at your income and expenses clearly, something shifts inside you. You see leaks, small ones, subscriptions you forgot, habits that quietly drain you, money leaving without permission. And here's the uncomfortable part: it's not always the big expenses that hurt you. It's the small ones that repeat every single month. Silence. The next step is an extreme sacrifice. It's intention. You don't cut joy, you cut waste. Things that don't improve your future. Things that don't truly add value to your life. Because every dollar you waste today is a dollar your future self will miss. Now let's talk your job is important. It pays the bills. But here's the truth. A job alone rarely creates freedom. It creates dependency. If your income stops when you stop working, you are one step away from vulnerability. That's not pessimism. That's reality. The goal isn't fast money. It's as reliable money. Extra income doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to exist without you being there every minute, slowly, consistently, over time. And here's where most people fail again. When income goes up, spending goes up even faster. New phone, better car, bigger lifestyle, and suddenly nothing changes. Smart people pause before upgrading. They ask one dangerous question: does this help my future or just my ego? That question changes everything. Instead of rewarding yourself immediately, you build something first. Assets before applause. Security before comfort. This isn't about living small forever. It's about building a foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. Because when income and expenses are intentional, fear starts to lose its grip. You stop reacting, you start directing, and that's when money stops controlling you and starts working for you quietly, relentlessly, in the background. This step isn't exciting, but it's powerful. Because freedom is built in silence long before anyone sees the result. Money doesn't just live in your bank account, it lives in your head, in your chest, in your sleep, in the way your mood shifts when bills arrive. Most people think money problems are about numbers. They're not. They're about a fear you don't talk about, fear you joke about, fear you push down and pretend isn't there. Pause. Think about this. How many times have you felt that quiet pressure, that tight feeling when prices go up again, that hesitation before checking your account, that voice that says, I hope nothing unexpected happens? That's not normal peace. That's survival mode. When you rely on one future promise, one pension, one plan, your mind is always waiting for something to go wrong. Even on good days, you tell yourself you're fine. But your body knows better. Stress shows up in small ways first. Short temper, constant tiredness, difficulty enjoying the present because the future feels uncertain. And the worst part, you start making decisions from fear. You stay in jobs you hate because you feel trapped. You avoid risks that could help you because you can't afford mistakes. You shrink your dreams before life even challenges them. Silence, that's the emotional cost of financial fragility. But when you begin building stability beyond a pension, something shifts inside you. Not overnight, slowly. The fear softens. You stop reacting to every headline. You stop panicking over every expense. You stop feeling like one bad event could ruin everything. And that emotional shift is powerful. You start thinking clearly again. You make decisions with patience instead of desperation. You feel grounded. There's a difference between being busy and being secure. Most people are busy. Few feel secure. Security doesn't mean you're rich. It means you're not constantly worried. It means you can breathe. And here's something most people never expect. When money stress decreases, everything else improves. Relationships get better. You're more present. You listen more. You argue less. Your health improves because your nervous system isn't always on edge. You sleep deeper. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you're no longer lying to yourself. You know you're taking responsibility. That alone creates relief. This is why ignoring the emotional side of money is dangerous. Because fear doesn't stay in one area of life. It spreads. And peace doesn't come from hoping, it comes from preparation. The moment you stop saying, I hope it works out, and start saying, I'm building something stronger, your entire inner world changes. Money stops being a constant threat and becomes a tool, not for happiness, but for peace of mind. Peace of mind is something no pension can guarantee. Now imagine two futures, same age, same past, same years of hard work, but completely different endings. In the first future, you did what most people do. You trusted one promise, you waited, you assumed everything would work out. Retirement arrives, and so does reality. The income is smaller than expected. The costs are higher than planned. Every decision feels heavy. You hesitate before spending. You count days until the next deposit. You avoid surprises because surprises are dangerous now. Freedom feels far away. You don't feel retired. You feel restricted. Silence in the second future. Something changed earlier. You didn't panic. You didn't rush. You just stopped being passive. You treated your pension as a bonus, not a lifeline. You built other streams slowly. You controlled spending instead of letting it control you. And over time, options appeared. Not luxury, not excess. Options. You work because you want to, not because you have to. You say no without fear. You take breaks without guilt. You face unexpected expenses without panic. That's the real long-term result, not wealth us control. Time starts working for you instead of against you. Small choices you barely noticed in the beginning become massive relief later. And here's the part people never talk about. When you reach that stage, you don't feel lucky. You feel proud because you know it wasn't an accident. It was built quietly, patiently. While others ignored the warning signs, you broke the cycle. You didn't repeat the same financial story passed down for generations: work, hope, struggle, regret. You chose awareness instead of comfort. And that decision echoes for decades. Your future self isn't stressed, isn't angry, isn't saying, I should have done something sooner. Your future self is calm. Calm because the pressure is gone. Calm because survival is no longer the goal. Living is. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to stop pretending it will magically solve itself. Because the harsh truth is this: retirement doesn't reward effort. It rewards preparation. And the earlier you prepare, the lighter life becomes later. Every year you take responsibility, you buy yourself peace. Every year you delay, you trade peace for hope. Hope feels good today, but preparation feels good forever. So when you think about the long term, don't ask, how much will I get? Ask the harder question. How strong will my position be when I need it most? That question changes everything, because the future doesn't punish you for not knowing. It punishes you for not acting. And the best part, you're not late. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're listening, you still have time to choose the second future.